I had gone to like a social event. Everyone was drinking alcohol, and I didn't feel like drinking. I just was drinking water. And people were asking me, "Oh, you don't drink?"
I didn't realize that it was so normal to state my preferences. And in the beginning, it felt like death. The more I did it, the less I was worried about what people thought of me.
Tell you what freedom is to me, no fear.
Going to like immigration offices, I was there, and they said to stand in line. All of a sudden, all these people came, entered the room, and they didn't follow the line.
I was the guy that wasn't following the line. I'm sorry.
But I just stood up and I said, no, this is not right. If you're coming from a place where you feel like you're trying to help, then you shouldn't feel bad about being assertive.
Assertiveness doesn't really have to be a long, drawn-out explanation, which is what I have on my phone. It says, don't complain, don't explain.
Because of the rise of just all the social media technology, it's so easy to just be comfortable in our own little space and not try to interact with one another.
Say what we mean without saying it mean, which is what I think assertiveness is how do you remain calm, not utilize your emotions, and state your preferences. It's like the rule book for people now to know, like, oh, Robbie, I understand him now. One way of reducing conflict is to really start to understand and make it clear to be as... All right, guys, welcome to another podcast. I think this is podcast 11. I can't remember. But today we're going to be talking about how to be more assertive and how to take constructive feedback. And I'm sure you've had some experiences in your own life on when you've gotten some criticism, you might have taken it personally. Also, how do we become more assertive? How do we become confident when we're dealing with people or in social situations where we don't feel like we're always walking away from conversations feeling like we're either dominated or that we feel like we're weak or we have low self-esteem? So today is very special because today I met a friend at Jazz at the Park. And so I've never met somebody from California in Colombia. And so meeting this person allowed me to kind of like see, wow, this person is a very big role model for me because for the reason that he's an example to how he brings community together. And that's been something very particularly a passion of mine, is bringing people together. And so I found a place now finally here in Colombia where I feel like, oh, there's like a community out there that I can relate with. And this person I relate with just because we can have an outsider perspective looking into living here in Colombia. So today I want to introduce you to Vernon.
Thanks, Robbie. Thanks for having me here. It's an honor to be on your podcast, and it's great to know you as well, at the Jazz al Parque or Jazz at the Park. And it's been great hanging out.
It was fun.
Yeah, it was a great time. Just listening to some good music. Jazz it's one of my favorite genres.
That's your passion.
I guess.
And you're a jazz player.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I'm always learning. And it's so crazy sometimes to hear that, like a jazz musician.
Why do you think?
I don't know. I guess because I didn't really start out as playing music, I in college I was studying like electrical engineering, so that was my path. Uh-huh. Just studying all these math courses, all these physics courses. When I graduated, I was an electrical engineer and moved to Seattle. Started my career there. And I was like, okay, this is my life, I never thought I would get back to music. Although I did play music in middle school, playing in the orchestra. I left it, and I didn't think I was ever going to come back to it. It wasn't only until I moved to Seattle, and I had a lot of freedom there. It was quite interesting because what was so special about it is I had moved away from my friends and family, and I was there. I was making new friends, but I also had more consciousness of thinking about my life, being more introspective, I guess you can say. Being introspective, thinking about what did I want, and that's how I really started thinking about living more authentically, or just finding something that I enjoy, like genuinely enjoy. So
How old were you when you went to Seattle?
I had graduated 21, 22. Yeah, I had turned 22. And I was in Seattle and just living there. It was a great time, and I had a lot of freedom to think in different perspectives. And I thought that was really great about living there. And I love the greenery. It's so green there in Seattle.
So beautiful, but it rains a lot, right?
It does.
But I love the greenery. I went to, what was that place? Bainbridge?
Sure, Bainbridge. Yeah.
It was so cool. When I was approaching from the ferry, it looked like the houses were like tiny, and then they got bigger. Obviously, it was. I don't know what that.
True.
What that.
As you approached,
it's but they look like tiny homes. I was like, I told the guy, I was like, why are they tiny? He's like, oh, well, they get bigger as you approach the. I was like,
sure.
Oh. He's like, yeah, it's because we're very far away.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful. I love that, dude. Seattle,
and it was like my dream because I love the movie Hocus Pocus.
Oh, okay.
Have you seen that
vaguely
movie?
remember it.
So it looked like
Sarah Jessica Parker, right?
Yeah, it was like Halloween, and it was like Halloween season 2. So yeah, I love Seattle. It was super cool. How long were you there for?
I was there for 4 years.
Oh,
4 years. Yeah, it was great, and I met a lot of great people there. But I did a lot of growing, and I was in my 20s. I'm like in my 30s now. 37, and what I miss about my 20s is the fact that you have so much energy to explore, and you're adventurous and risk taking, just experimenting with different things. That's great. So those are some of the things I miss about it. And yeah, because I was just so exposed to different alternatives to life, meditation and just learning to eat healthier there. And because when I was living in LA, I would just eat a lot of fast food, like Panda Express, stuff like that. But there, I don't know, for some reason, it's more conscious. Right. And it really broke.
Was it not in your face all the time?
I think so.
Because I think that's the way it is in California. It's just the consumerism. Everything's in your face, so you get tempted to just kind of pull off the road and have Panda Express.
True. I think
because you're bored,
Yeah. So I think that's what it was. It wasn't so always in my face. I was living at the time. I was living in Green Lake. It was so beautiful because it was green and there was a lake. And a lot of cool.
Yeah, that's why they named it, right?
I don't think so. No, I'm sure. Yeah, probably. But there is a lot of cafes. There are a lot of great restaurants for organic food. And Seattle will always have a place in my heart because I did a lot of growing personally as an individual. It was one of the best times of my life.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah. And then after that, I had quit my job, and then I was like, I'm just going to go ahead and just do this traveling abroad. I don't know. A lot of things had to happen in order for me to get to where I am.
I think you're absolutely right. Yeah, I'm probably meeting the best version of you.
And
I think vice versa.
Yeah,
you're meeting the best version of myself. And
awesome.
I think it was not even 2 months ago that I think I look back and I'm like, oh, that was interesting how much I've changed in just the amount of 2 months. But you said something about I had energy in my 20s and now I'm kind of enjoying this whole meditation, introspective part of my life. Is that right? What you said,
yeah, I would say the 20s was more being very adventurous, trying new things, having energy to stay out late and then just do more stuff. And also I think the later half of my 20s, I started to become more introspective.
Around what age?
Maybe like, I would say the like 25, 26, you know? And I really value those years, especially because I started just thinking of different things like, you know, is this what life is all about? Just like, I don't know, kind of just working. Don't get me wrong, I really enjoyed my time where I was working there, and I met some great people there at my workplace, but I felt like maybe it was time for me, like the universe is telling me time to move on.
Yeah.
You know, it's time to like take the next step to another plateau.
What was the next step at that point?
Ooh, at that point, I was just...
Or you didn't know?
I really didn't know. I was kind of lost. I had reconnected with music at the time. I was like, wow, this is great. This is cool. I think, you know, I really just wanted to find something new to do and something fun to do. But I was like, at the time, I felt like when I had told people I was going to quit my job and to go traveling, I think people were thinking like I was like depressed with my life, but I think that wasn't the case at all. It's kind of the exact opposite. I was like so high on life,
enlightened.
Yeah, so high. All the books I had been reading at
which
that
is
time.
interesting. Why do Westerners think that if you like you're traveling, you're failing?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
So it's like society has led us to believe that if you're just traveling and not working, because we do have that culture in the United States where it's like work, build yourself. If you're not doing anything, why are you sleeping throughout the day? Why are you watching TV during the day? And then over here, it's like normal to just chill for like an hour or two during the day without doing anything.
Yeah, it's great. You know, I don't know. I think in the Western world, or at least in the United States, we're always on that routine to be productive, like hustle culture. You always have to keep doing something in order to progress, or if not, you're going to be a failure. You know, it's kind of just been ingrained. That fear, you know, fear of failing in life, I guess, it's one of the biggest reasons why people are constantly moving, or I guess people just feel like they have to do something just to occupy their time for whatever reason. There could be many reasons for it. Maybe, like for me, I would say because I was, you know, in college, you know, we'd always have to find, you know, I found myself just being occupied all the time doing stuff. And even after that, even during times like summer vacation, I felt kind of weird, like I can't relax. I have to do more stuff.
When you were in the States, or when you
in
were
the States, in the States, yeah. But when I decided to like quit my job and just go traveling, in the beginning it was tough. It was like, you know, I felt anxious.
Sure.
But eventually I relaxed into the role of just like not doing anything, and it was wonderful. And that 1 year, I really do miss it. It's
where was that, in the States?
No, this was when I quit my job and then I moved to Argentina.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And
then we'll get to that segue. I want to know a little bit more before. So you said something, you had more energy in your 20s. I related with you there, and we're the same age, by the way. So I feel like we're going through very similar kind of experiences, which is why I'm grateful to journey with you, because I'm learning subconsciously from you. So you said you had more energy in your 20s, you got into your 30s. For me personally, I wouldn't trade my 20s for my 30s right now. The amount of like, I feel more comfortable in my own skin. I feel like I don't have the same objectives or goals that I had when I was in my 20s. My 20s was like just traveling and just like getting to know myself. But recently it's not like a midlife crisis, but I've had similar thoughts of like, what does this all mean?
True.
It's kind of like, it's this climb, right? So you're a child, you're a teenager, you're an adult.
Yeah.
And then you have all these goals of like career, dating, relationships, traveling. And then you get over here and it's like the end of the 30s. And then it's like, okay, there's the 40s, and then you see the horizon. And I think that's where I'm at right now.
Okay,
and it's
I
very
see.
interesting because I
shoot.
see the horizon and it's just downhill from here. And then it's this loop. And now you're thinking about like, okay, what does the next 40 years look like?
Yeah.
What does this mean? You know, I had all these visions in my past. You know, I was an actor, I was studying religion, and I think it was the expectations in the past that I was always trying to impress people or get validation or acceptance or approval. And now that I've been working on this, like build the inner family rather than like get validation from people around me, it's quite interesting to think, okay, is this what it looks like to be alone and be comfortable with yourself and not like I don't have a relationship right now. And that's something I've always like, am I going to be in a relationship? What does that look like? And so yeah, it's interesting. And I think once that midlife cycle or crisis passes, you get into this kind of solitude space of like being comfortable with yourself. And so, yeah, I just wanted to say that because it's something that you said resonated with me of like getting into your 30s and like meditation and all that stuff.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think there's like a sense of clarity in your 30s.
Right.
Maybe you're not as wild as you are in your 20s, but for me, I'm really grateful for my 30s because I feel like my path is so clear, right? Sure, I'm taking risks, but it's because I'm doing it from a place of love. Like I'm doing this because I want to do it. It's not because I feel obligated.
Right.
You know, you have a sense of clarity. Sure. Yeah. You mentioned something like getting to your 40s, and that's, ooh, yeah, same thing.
Sorry
like,
if I brought that up.
Same thing. Yeah, it's like,
because you did say something like, like I said, we're the same age. So I think, I don't know if you've been through that yet, but something that you said with the Western mindset is that you feel like you always have to be on the run or doing something to feel like you're, you know, contributing to society, or that, you know, like you said, you took a break and then you felt anxious, like you needed to be doing something.
Sure.
And it's interesting that both you and I, it's proof because we were raised in California and then we came to Colombia. So we struggle with very similar kind of aspects being here in Colombia of thinking, oh, like I'm taking a risk. Is this going to work out? Am I a failure? You know, or do people see me as that type of thing? Not to say that that's what you think, but sometimes I think that of like, you know, I came from a family where like they expected a lot of like, you should be in this career. And when I told them I was going to be an actor, they kind of like was like, you know, you're going to make us look bad, man. And then you also, you come from a Filipino background.
Yeah.
So I feel like both of our cultures are very similar in that aspect, which is why I think we can laugh a lot. Yeah. Is because our families had all these expectations of us to do, like, was it your family that had that expectation to study, what was it? Engineering?
It was more like they subtly influenced me. It's not like they said, "Oh, you have to study
You need
this."
to be an engineer. Can you do it?
I can't do it.
You can't
You
do
do better Filipino. I'm so horrible at accents.
Berlin. Yeah. You need to be engineer.
Like that. Perfect. Exactly. Like it sounds like that.
And you're like, oh,
yeah, engineer.
You're
okay,
like
I'll
5.
do that. Yeah.
You're like engineer.
Yeah.
You had an accent too.
It was. Oh yeah. Thank you. Yeah. It was very like subtly influenced, right? You know, a lot of my family members are also engineers. And so I was like, oh, this is like the only path. But I don't fault them for that. Like, oh, why did you guys do this to me? No, I mean, it's like whatever happened had to happen. And I'm really grateful too, because like I studied electrical engineering. Although I don't practice it now, like directly, I've learned a lot of other things through it, you know? So that was great. But yeah, it's sometimes tough, you know, to have a kind of like idea, like the only one road, you know, you can't explore other paths. So that's why it can be a little bit confusing, which is why I was so grateful, like to travel, to quit, because that gave me space to really think like, okay. And it's one thing that I wish was more common in the US culture. In European culture, they tend to do like after high school, they go and travel for a year. Because when I was in Argentina, I met a lot of people from the UK, from Holland, just traveling from Germany, just traveling before they entered college. And I was like, wow, that's so amazing. Because it's too crazy. Like, I'm 15 years old and a counselor's telling me, what do you want to do with your life? It's just like, oh my God.
Oh, so early.
So early, yeah, And so that's why, like, when you have that year to just take time off to really relax and just really soak in the present, oh man, you just have more clarity.
Something clicks. And especially the community that you met. By the way, where did you meet your friends in Seattle? Like, what group setting did you end up collaborating with?
Well, I first met my group of friends in Seattle because I was working as an intern for T-Mobile. And so we had like an internship program there. So I met a lot of good people there. It was awesome. One event, we went to a Seattle Mariners game. We were just drinking, and it was amazing. Watching my first time at a baseball game, and it was great to see that. I had also met some friends through meetup groups. At the time, Meetup was growing. I think it's now more popular.
Right.
So I had met people through that, and eventually, when I started getting a little bit more into music, then I started meeting friends that way.
And so, but were you playing jazz at that time or no?
I started.
Oh,
yeah,
you started. And
yeah.
why did you start playing jazz?
I felt like...
Was that one of the moments of like, oh, this is something that interests me?
Yeah, I was just trying different things at the time.
Okay.
I was taking salsa classes, seeing how that worked. I was a part of like Toastmasters.
I love Toastmasters.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
That's great.
How many likes have I been saying in this conversation?
Oh gosh, I've been saying I'm rusty. I've been saying likes a lot. So I didn't. Okay, that makes okay. How was your experience in Toastmasters?
I thought it was great, just because the community is so positive.
Yeah, true.
And non-judgmental. Like, it's very rare to find that aspect in the States, where you're a part of a group and you don't feel like everybody's judging me. Or it was kind of a cool outlet for me to just be myself, and be goofy and try the exercises. And I really loved attention as a young person. So I loved the fact that they gave me the space to like just all eyes on me, and I'm talking and nobody's interrupting me. And it was cool because then I had to be very conscious of the way I speak. And to really think back to say, oh wow, like I said so few words, and then the rest was
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough when you get really conscious of what you're saying. I say a lot. So
no,
that's a thing,
I said one time. So what was it? I think it was a podcast that I did on YouTube, and I was
oh, gotcha.
I just said it. Damn it. Okay, so let me backtrack here. Now I'm very self-conscious. Okay, so I was doing a podcast and I got a comment saying you say a lot.
What?
And I was like, what? And so constructive feedback for me was like very hard. I had my own narcissistic tendencies that I think I got a little bit from my family. So anytime somebody gave me the slightest of feedback, it would like hit my ego of like, do I say that? And then I looked back in all my videos. I was like, oh my gosh, I say a lot. And then I was like, oh crap, that guy was right. And so I had two options. I could either look at his constructive feedback as offensive, or I can take it constructively and say, well, regardless of what his intentions were, I can learn from it. And I could be like, oh, okay, well, I'm more conscious now that when I say a lot. And what's crazy is because I'm conscious of it now, I'm very conscious of when people say it. And I'm like, oh, that used to be me, type of thing. So the constructive feedback that I think this would be a good segue to talk about is like, I've learned that taking constructive feedback is a good thing because it's an opportunity for me to learn and grow more about myself.
Yeah, true. And, when you mentioned Toastmasters, when I was in Toastmasters too, like, now I'm so conscious of what I'm saying,
right?
But getting the constructive criticism, it seemed kind of, I felt, I was quite sensitive to it. and it kind of stung me, but it's a way to grow and grow and grow. And it's not, I think the issue with constructive criticism for people is that when they receive it, they feel like they take it as personally, but it's really not personal. It's more of just like, I did something wrong. It's okay. I'm going to correct it. I'm going to fix it, and I'm going to improve on that part. For example, my time here in Colombia in Spanish, sometimes I say things wrong grammatically, and people correct me, my friends, like, oh, it's not te amañas, it's like te mañas, it's like, did you enjoy a particular place, right? And, you know, I was saying this one thing wrong, and when my friend was explaining it to me, how to use it correctly, I kind of felt hurt, but I was like, oh no, this is just my ego. You know, it stings because of my ego. I think that I should be better. But I'm not, and I feel like a failure for this reason. And it shouldn't be like that. I think especially since I've been playing music a lot, I messed up a lot in public. People criticize me for this and that. When I hear recordings of myself playing, I do some things wrong. And one thing I have to be careful of is I have to make sure that I don't take it personally. I remember when I was, you know, in high school, or if I ever did something wrong, because I was trying so hard to be perfect with tests, you know, getting everything correct. But whenever I got something wrong, I would just tell myself, like, internally, oh, I suck. I can't believe this. I'm never going to be good like this. Like, the internal, you know, your internal monologue really affects your reality.
Oh, yeah.
And so one thing I'm very conscious of now is, okay, I did this wrong, but I know how to correct it. I'm going to improve on that.
Right.
That's the mindset you should have.
I think that is a great approach. One thing I want to ask is, where does this come from? I'd like to go a little bit deep, and I'd like to ask myself, where does this come from? This inner dialogue of self-sabotage or self-criticism. I call it the inner critic. I've been going to a group called ACA. It's called Adult Children of Alcoholics. And this group has been reframing my inside parts to remove the inner critic, or at least to be aware of it in the beginning, and to replace it with the loving parent. And so I always thought that I needed to go to the parent to get more validation, acceptance, and approval. And I think that where this inner critic comes from could be deeply rooted from our childhood and like maybe our environment and the way our maybe family proposed what success looks like. And I'm learning that the whole self-talk thing, which I thought was bogus in the past, like, oh, I'm talking to myself, like, you know, like, oh, look at you, you're doing great type of thing. But it works. It actually does work, because like you said it right there, like you reframed it. And I thought what was cool about what you said was that, no, I'm going to fix this. And that's like you going against your ego. Because the ego doesn't want to take feedback and say, I don't need to fix anything.
Yeah.
Like, what are you telling me to fix? You know? And that was also my ego in the past. It was so dominating me. Like, oh, this person just gave you feedback. Like, I'll give you a perfect example. I was at the barbershop, and I love going I love going to the barbershop and the nail salon, because it's a perfect place for me to laugh with people, play music, like the barbershop, for example. We have just so much fun, and we laugh and we make fun of each other. That's the best part. In the beginning, when I first went to that barbershop, I remember taking it personally on the things they would make fun of me towards. The way they would make fun of me reminded me of my high school days, the way I was teased, the way people would make light of situations at my own expense. But this barbershop was like therapy for me, because every time I went, it was an opportunity for me to just let loose and laugh with them. And that's all they were doing, is just wanting to have a good time. It wasn't personal. So this last week, I went to the barbershop and I said a word in Spanish wrong, and my barber was like laughing at me and correcting me at the same time. And I was like, do you speak English? In Spanish, of course. And he's like, no. I was like, exactly. And he was like, oh my gosh, that was awesome, dude. Good job for like, you literally, yeah, you're right. You're right. You know? And so it's like a lot of the times we're so hard on ourselves. Like we're the ones learning Spanish and sometimes our Colombian friends don't even know English. So why are we so hard on ourselves when we're actually trying every day to learn a different language to adapt into a different culture? And I think this is where the self-talk changes. Instead of the inner critic always being hard on me, I always flip it around and say like, no, Robbie, like, yeah, you made a mistake on a word or you made a mistake here in Colombia, but you are human and you get to make mistakes and you get to grow from them, which is what I liked about what you said. You're like, no, but I can fix this. And that's like a whole different level of confidence. When people see that you and I can take constructive feedback without taking it personally and almost welcome it. Like I was telling you earlier over coffee is like, well, tell me more about your constructive feedback. Like, what did you mean by that? And that's where I think this is going to be very useful for you and I and other people that are watching is when we get constructive feedback to maybe ask more and say like, well, what did you mean by that? This way I can be a little bit more clear as to like how I can improve or how you think I can improve. And then you kind of get people off guard and you can distinguish between the people that are just trying to dominate you, that are not trying to help you, that are just trying to be there to make themselves look a little better or to just make you feel like you're lower. By asking open-ended questions like that, you can distinguish whether the person's there to help you or to harm you.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I think you have to, in terms of constructive criticism, the people who are giving it, you have to make sure where are they coming from, you know?
Right.
It's, yeah, as you mentioned, there could be some people who are just dominating. And it's not constructive at all. They'll just like, oh, you're horrible, it's this and that. And that's not valid criticism. And that's great. That's great advice that you mentioned to ask, to go further, to go deeper. Well, what do you mean? Oh, so let's say someone said I play horribly. Oh, well, what do you mean? What did I do wrong? What can I improve on? I think it's such a great tip to have because sometimes it's very unclear. And then, yeah, you can gauge where this person is coming from. And then whether it's coming from a place of negative energy or positive energy, you can still grow from it.
Sure.
And, you know, it can help you further along the way on your path to whatever it is that you're trying to learn, whatever you're trying to improve on. So I think that's a really great tip. I think I'm going to use that.
I think we should both keep using it, maybe in the same setting, like together. Like,
sure.
Like, well, what do you? And then we'll have like two people giving us feedback.
Yeah,
We're like, well, tell me more, and I'm just like carrying in on you. Okay, so I told you a book when we were having coffee. It's one of my favorite books. It's called "When I Say No, I Feel Guilty." Okay, so this would be a good topic to segue into because now we have two different people. We have the person that's not necessarily trying to help us by giving that constructive feedback. Maybe they're giving it because they're projecting their own insecurities onto us. Maybe they wanted to be a jazz player and they look at you and kind of admire you.
Yeah, who knows?
I mean, here's the thing,
sure.
like if we're not searching enough in life or trying to study different types of people, of course we're going to take it personally because we're not educating ourselves on, okay, who is this person that I'm dealing with right now? So I was in a therapy session last week and my therapist said something really interesting. He said, Robbie, I want to tell you something. I've noticed you have been feeling down about yourself based on other people's behaviors towards you, how they act, if they silence you, if they start to all of a sudden go from really warm to cold. You're gauging your exterior based on how you're feeling. So like you're constantly gauging or sizing up people or, you know, taking the temperature in the room. And then if everything's good, you feel good. But if you see that everything's not, you start to feel low. He said, I want you to start to try to flip it. Sometimes the way people act towards you is out of envy. When he said that, I was like, oh, tell me more about that.
So that's a very interesting perspective.
It's very interesting because as an empath, I was always just very honest with myself to say, okay, if this person is acting strange towards me, it might mean that I have done something wrong. But that was never always the case. maybe I was okay, and that this person might have just been feeling envy towards me. And I've seen a common theme, and I've seen it's happened to my mom a lot too. I tend to portray myself as a confident individual. I like making people laugh. I like including people. So sometimes I've noticed that could be a threat to certain personalities. And I've had envy towards other people because I told my therapist this. I said, I too have had envy towards people. I remember one guy approached me. He said he was an actor. He was really good looking. He was successful. He was like a Disney star in Argentina. And then this envy hit me. I was like, oh, I really, really like hate this person. Like, I don't like him at all, you know? And I was like, I was projecting my insecurities on, and this was years ago when I discovered what the word envy was. Because I didn't even know what that feeling of envy was. Then when I searched it, I was like, oh, that was like, I wanted malice for this person.
Yeah.
And so then I discovered envy is not necessarily like, it is a bad thing, because a lot of people say, I envy you. I'm like, no, you don't. Like, you need to just figure you out. You're not me, I'm not you type of thing. Envy, the way I took care of it was recognizing that if this person was able to succeed, that means it's proof that I can too.
Yeah, it's definitely true.
It's not like that he took it away or she took it away from me. It's that, oh, wow, thank you for showing me that it's actually possible. Now I'm going to do it.
Yeah. I think that's great that you said that, because normally people who, this envy comes from people with lack. They want what someone else doesn't have. But it's great that you mentioned that, because you kind of flipped it around. It's more inspiration. And I think that's where how we should look at things. Like if we meet people, for example, going back to music again, I had attended this workshop by a famous jazz musician, jazz saxophonist, Joshua Redman. And in this master class, he mentioned that the way he got better was by playing with people better than him. And that's the way. I mean, it's inspiring to see where you can go, and it can also teach you, and you can even get advice from those people too, to help you out. So I think it's always, we should just look at people like who may be perceived as better. We can see them as inspiration and motivation to keep on going, not as envious, and not as just giving up. I was like, oh, I'm never gonna make it like that. I think we should switch it that way, and in that way it can be more productive.
I agree with you. Yeah, and I think we were also talking about being assertive. And you mentioned like I feel like I could be a little bit more assertive.
Oh yeah.
But that's also something I dealt with too. Like I look back and I say, why, man, I remember like, okay, it could be friends, it could be dates. I was a chameleon. I would always be doing and saying yes to things that I didn't want to do. You know, like if somebody said, oh, I want to go eat here, I'm like, oh yeah. Like I want to go there too. I'm like, why did I even agree to that?
Yeah.
I felt like I was just always adapting to my environment. Something that's really helped me to be assertive or to be more confident is to start like stating my preferences. Even though it felt weird and maybe it wasn't even my preference, but at least it was like starting to change the the structure of my brain. And so if somebody said, oh, I want to see this movie, I'd be like, you know, nah, I don't want to see that movie. I want to see this movie. And in the beginning, it felt like death, like I was going to be abandoned, or it was like this person's going to not want to see a movie with me anymore. But I didn't realize that it was so normal to state my preferences.
Yeah. And I kind of had, sorry.
No. Like, I want to hear what you had to say, and I'm almost done with this. Is that the more I did it, the less I was worried about what people thought of me.
Okay.
And I started kind of building a relationship with myself, which I never had. I never had a sense of self.
Okay.
You know, growing up as American Jordanian, I was always leeching off of other people what they can give me: love, validation, acceptance, and approval. but it was Colombia that helped me to find a sense of self, believe it or not.
Wow. Okay.
Like 3 years ago, if you met me, you'd be like, oh, like he's kind of strange. Like he's cool, but I can't put my finger on it. He's a little weird.
Was there a particular moment or something? Or I guess, I mean, I'm sure it was a gradual progression.
It was a gradual progression. I never had dated in the States. I mean, okay, so I was a late bloomer. I was very ashamed of like my sexuality.
Okay.
And I was very ashamed of, I thought everything I was doing was wrong.
Got it, yeah.
And I had a lot of paranoia stemming from my family system. And so I came to this country where it was like God, and I felt like God put me here.
Okay.
I really do.
Like it was your plan.
Yeah, like God's like, let's just drop him off and see what he does. You know, no, it's true. He's like, let's see what happens if he gets into trouble or whatever. And because like I felt like when God appointed me my angel was like, no, please, no. And God was like, no, you got to do it. He's like, no, please, you've seen the way he travels. I can't even keep up with this guy. And so, yeah, I feel like my angel has protected me in Colombia. It's been a great place for me to experiment without shame or guilt. And yeah, I've made a lot of mistakes in Colombia. I've learned from them. I've recognized my humanity and say, yeah, you have an opportunity to grow. But the old version of me, I would say, was that I was always caught up in the belief of my stories that I've created in my head. And I constantly create these stories that are not real.
Yeah. I think that's I think, you know, that same stuff happens to me. It happens to all of us. We create some crazy story. And that's why we really have to be very conscious of what's going on, the thoughts that are ruminating in our heads, because that often creates our reality. You know, it kind of affects how we tend to live, you know. So one thing that I try to do is to just try to stay present, because there are times when I can feel anxious, and if I really start, you know, getting wrapped up in my thoughts, then I can really lose myself. So I really am grateful for like meditation, and that really keeps me present. It really keeps me conscious of what's going on in my body. And one thing I had done before I had quit my job and left for this trip in South America was doing this meditation retreat. And it was so helpful because it helped me become more connected with myself and with what was going on in my body. Oftentimes, like whatever sensations we feel, we sometimes associate to a particular emotion, but that may not be the case. And so if we're really conscious and aware of what's going on, then we won't be overcome by all these thoughts and all the crazy things that are happening. So I'm really grateful for that. I think that's one thing that I've really established more during my time here in South America. Just the meditation, becoming present, and then just being grateful too. You know, I think that helps a lot. Just being grateful. It was great that you sent me that video.
The video,
gratitude. Yeah,
it's important. It's
really important. Like every night I go to sleep, before, you know, I say I'm grateful for the challenges that I face today. When I wake up, I say I'm grateful for another day.
That's amazing.
It really centers yourself, and it really takes out the anxiety. The depression, it doesn't really affect me that much, but sometimes I can get really anxious. I get too wrapped up in the future. And I think it's as you mentioned before, like reaching the 40s, you're like, oh my God, what's going to happen? This and that.
All you see is death. You're like, dude, I might
the decline
be dying
of life.
Soon. So I'm like, what do I do for the next 40 years?
Yeah, I don't know. So it's kind of daunting, right? But I think what really keeps me like grounded into the present is just being grateful, even for the smallest of things, like receiving a meal or a bottle of
So
water.
important. Where do you think that stems from? Your Catholicism?
Oh, what? Being grateful or being?
Yeah. I know we joke around about that, but like
No,
I remember
think,
at the jazz concert, the girl was like, "Oh, like we're going to you can come to our Christian church if you want." You're like, "Well, I was kind of like raised Catholic," and when I saw that, I was like, "That's his preference."
That's my preference. Yeah.
I would have totally adapted. Like, sure, like I'll go to your Christian church,
okay.
and then like invite other energies that I'm not familiar with. But then I heard you, and you're like, well, I was kind of like raised Catholic, but yeah, let's go have a burger.
That's kind of interesting that you pointed out. I thought it was like so. I think it's become so normal, but to me, but I think what's really happened is I've become like more aligned with my values and stuff.
That's cool.
And maybe
when do you
that
think
has
that
helped.
happened?
I think when I quit my job and then started traveling, that's the start of the path.
You
know,
when you quit, he's like, Vernon, your shift is next week, and you're like, I don't know. Like I was raised Catholic.
I think I don't want to. I'm gonna quit.
You're like, I was raised Catholic. I'm gonna go have a burger. I'm gonna think about it.
Never came back.
That's hilarious.
I don't know. I think just being more mindful of what I wanted, and I think it's also like maybe I felt some guilt in that just to preference what I wanted because I was feeling, oh, I'm so selfish, this and that. But I think
Where do
it's
you
okay.
think that stemmed from?
Yeah,
That's interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
I thought that from my family told me that, like, you're being selfish. Okay, Mom, don't take offense to this. But okay, so one time during the pandemic, I mean, we're all living in the same household. And sorry to interrupt you. Please save that thought. But I'm going to say this really quick.
Okay, go ahead.
Because the selfish thing really hit me home. It hit home for me. I always felt selfish my whole life because that's what was like that seed was planted in my head that I'm being selfish for living my life or eating. And so one time I told my mom, I was like, oh yeah, like I saved up a bunch of food for me for the pandemic. It's just like, you're so selfish. Like, what about the family? Or like, I have enough money for me or type of thing. And I was like, that confused me. I was like, am I being selfish? It was like the ultimate gaslight. And I think that's sometimes how I feel throughout my life, where I'm like, I'm being selfish for not being married because that's the expectation that, oh, you should get married. Like in my culture, every woman, like older woman, Arabic woman's like, okay, it's your turn. Like, let's get married. But they really just want to have a party, you know? They don't care about me suffering for the next like 40 years. No, I know. I'm just kidding. Sometimes people get married and they're happy. Okay, whatever. So I'm learning to prioritize myself as a single person and to tell myself it's okay to be single. It's okay to flourish as a single person. In fact, I've been doing research on about 12 different historical people, women or men, that stayed single their whole life and found their vocation or their goal in life.
Oh, okay.
And that's been really helping me. Like, for example, Theodore Nightingale, I forget what her name is, but she was like the girl that reformed the nursing program. Like, she would walk into hospitals with all these higher up doctors and say, who's this woman telling us what to do? And she remained single, and she found a calling from her higher power to say, like, you need to be single and do this.
Sure.
Anyways, I digress. Sorry about that.
No, that was
Please
great.
continue.
That's great to know. Because right now I'm also single, and sometimes, maybe societal pressures like, oh, you have to get married soon, you have to have children, all this stuff. But it's also like, we all have our individual paths, and sometimes it can lead to some really great things. And so that's quite amazing that you mentioned that story. But yeah, going back to the being selfish thing, it has, I guess, from a family standpoint or something like that. But it's so strange because I feel that the ones who feel that they're selfish tend to be the most selfless, whereas the ones who don't even realize that they're selfish are actually the really selfish. And I'm not even sure how I became this way. I'm sure it had something to do with my environment. I can't really pinpoint a particular story where like someone said, oh, you're being selfish or this or that. Maybe it had something to do with the fact that whatever decision I made, I always, if it wasn't something that others enjoyed, I felt some sense of hurt, or maybe it's also part of the fact that I always wanted to make sure everyone was good. And maybe that's why, like, why I felt selfish is like always keeping, yeah, I'm trying to think.
I could tell you it.
Okay.
You told me about it in the park, the jazz park. You were always wanting everybody to have a good time. Is that it? I could be wrong.
Well, yeah, I mean, just in general, I always want to make sure that people are having a good time, right? And maybe I felt that sometimes I don't want to make the decision for the rest of a group. And maybe that's just an example of me feeling selfish. I wanted to make sure everyone else had a good time before I did.
Oh, interesting. So you're always prioritizing other people over your own needs.
Yeah, I normally do that.
Do you still do that? Or do you
not
find
so
that
much.
It's slowly
yeah, not so much. But in terms of like, of course, I always want to make sure everyone's having a good time, but in terms of like my own life, I feel like I tend to stand up more for myself and set more boundaries.
Good for you.
So I think I had mentioned that I had gone to like a social event. It was more of a professional networking event. And I remember, everyone was drinking alcohol and I didn't feel like drinking. I just was drinking water. And throughout the night, I was just feeling pressure from people, like from the waiters, or you don't want to drink a martini? It's free. And I was telling him, no, I don't really want to drink. I just want to drink water. And then people were asking me, do you
water on the rocks, though?
What?
Water on the rocks.
Well, yes, of course. Water on the rocks for sure. That's the way to drink it. And people were asking me, oh, you don't drink? And I said, no, I don't. I just don't feel like drinking tonight. And I didn't feel ashamed. It was a weird thing. And I think it's because I'm more comfortable with who I am for sure. And again, being aligned with your principles and values really helps. I'm mixing. Oh no, it really reinforces, that kind of behavior, just to really set your boundaries.
To be assertive.
I think I'm becoming more assertive in that respect. Just saying how I feel. Saying if I'm not happy with something, I say it. And I think it also has something to do with the environment here in Colombia, I mean, I love Colombia. It's such a great place, and I've met a lot of great things. And with that being said, there's some things that sometimes annoys me a little bit, in particular with immigration. So going to like immigration offices and dealing with their protocols, or like even the smallest of things. One particular day I was there and they said to stand in line, and then the people will call you to get your data. And then all of a sudden, all these people entered the room, and they didn't follow the line protocol.
Right.
And it kind of annoyed me. And
I was the guy that wasn't following the line. I'm sorry. But you're right. But okay, so you just have to buy a snack for the lady. And then you're good. And then you just walk right in.
Oh, God.
So then now I don't know.
But
new protocol.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess that's the next time, that's the next thing I should do. But I just stood up and I said, no, this is not right. You've been waiting in line and these people just came after us and now they're being tended to. And they said, okay. So everyone in the line, so they mentioned it and they actually followed the process. Right. And I didn't feel bad about it. This is the right thing to do. And I felt like if you're coming from a place where you feel like you're trying to help, then you shouldn't feel bad about being assertive. You should feel, if you're trying to help, if you're trying to be destructive. By the way,
that's something I should work on, not buying the snack. So I just wanted to mention that.
For sure.
I went to the water park 2 days ago.
Oh, okay.
And I went on a date with myself.
Cool.
And that was a cool day. I've been taking myself on more dates recently to get to know myself better. And I think a lot of people are uncomfortable to be alone. Like, whoa, you went to the water park alone? I was like, yeah, it was awesome. So these two teenagers, like, were trying to look for their parents to go up the line. And then they stood in front of me and they thought, oh, we'll just stay here. And I thought they were not looking for their parents. So I talked to the guy behind me. I was like, ¿Es normal para cortar las filas en Colombia? And he's like, oh, no, sí, yo pensé lo mismo porque sí, ellos cortaron la fila. And I was like, yeah, should I say something? He's like, I was like, okay. That was my people pleasing, not saying anything out of fear of conflict.
Yeah, the conflict, right? Avoiding conflict.
Because this guy looked kind of chimba, you know?
Okay.
Like he had like the cut in his eyebrow and he was talking like kind of chimba.
Yeah.
And I was like, I should have just said, hey, like, necesitan volver en la fila.
Yeah.
But I, okay, maybe next time I'll do it.
Yeah,
Next time I'll say something. But I can relate with you. I think sometimes by being assertive, we're fear of conflict. The whole crowd turning against us.
True. And I think I was put here in Colombia. I don't know, God told me to come here, right, just to deal with this kinds of stuff because, you know, again, Colombia is really awesome, really great, amazing place. There are times where I've had issues with like roommates, for example, in terms of like volume, you know, they play the music so loud or they come home late, make noise. I play music at home sometimes, so I have to also like be upfront and direct and tell them, okay, is there some way how can I play music at the house without angering you guys? So like that open discussion, right? Because I came from a place of also avoiding conflict. And I think that I've gotten a lot better because now I can say what I want, and if there is conflict, I can say it in a manner where I'm calm. And that never was the case before. When I remember my initial like disputes with my roommates here in Colombia, I would just erupt, just yell. And now when I think about that, I was so immature because no one wants to be yelled at. I don't want to be yelled at. And that really shifted my perspective. We can handle conflict in such a way where we don't have to raise our voices. We don't have to be personal. We can really just be calm about everything. And I think maybe I had thought that this was the correct way of handling conflict because of my environment. It was something that I was exposed to, you know, with my parents,
right?
You know, and
it was a learned behavior.
Yeah, I mean, I don't fault them for that, and I'm really grateful for my parents, and they've done a great job supporting me throughout my life, raising me to be the man that I am now. And so it's just something that I had to learn on my own.
Which is what I think assertiveness is how do you remain calm, not utilize your emotions, and state your preferences, like I was talking about before. For example, I liked what you said before. I share how I feel. You know, assertiveness doesn't really have to be a long, drawn-out explanation, which is what I have on my phone. It says, don't complain, don't explain. And I feel like sometimes we over-explain ourselves for, like, why are we explaining our preferences to other people? And so something I've learned is when I feel, by the way, a lot of people have confusion on what feeling and thinking is. Because a lot of people say, like, I feel like you're upsetting me. And I tell them, like, that's not a feeling. You're thinking.
Yeah, it's true.
You think that I'm upsetting you.
Yeah.
What do you feel? What are you feeling? And that has been really powerful for me to be like, I feel it. And I said, no, but that's not a feel. What am I feeling? I'm angry that this person is doing this, you know, and they're not doing it to me. It's that I am feeling it. They're not responsible for how I'm feeling. I have to now share my preferences and my boundaries. And it could be as simple as, hey, I feel anxious when you show up late every time. What I need is for you to like maybe text me to let me know you're on your way, or just let me know that you're canceling, so I could feel like my time is being respected. And when I say things like that, it's like the rule book for people now to know, like, oh, Robbie, I understand him now. Like, I shouldn't do that.
Yeah, that's great, actually. Yeah, the rule book thing. Yeah, because everyone's so different.
Right.
When you state your preferences.
People can't mind. They
True.
can't. And that's what I was doing my whole life. Like, you should have known.
Yeah, same.
You should have known.
Sure.
Like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
I didn't know anything. But you should have known.
Yeah. Everyone's different.
And I'm like, oh, they didn't know. They're not a mind reader. So assertiveness has been really powerful. And I could see that that's been very powerful for you too.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's great that you mentioned that. I think, it is the rule book when you state how you feel, how you want. And then also you gain respect from those people. They can't just do whatever they want.
Absolutely.
I think that's the best way to set your boundaries, for sure.
And it could be, we could say it in a nice way without saying it mean. Say what we mean without saying it mean.
True.
And that's been so cool for me, because I thought I had to yell,
Yeah.
Because nobody was listening in my family. So that's how I had to do it.
Yeah.
I'm like, stop.
I think that especially nowadays, this, in terms of assertiveness, in terms of facing conflict, it's been harder more than ever, just because of this whole trend of ghosting. And I'm also guilty of it at times. I try to, of course, it's just, I'm trying to get better with that.
Right.
And, we can't just avoid people. It's not the way to grow. And it also creates a lack of communication. So we don't know what the other person is feeling.
Sure.
So it's really tough. And I think that because of the rise of just all the social media technology, it's so easy to just be comfortable in our own little space and not try to and not interact with one another.
Right.
And I don't think that, in terms of personal growth, that it's very helpful.
One way of reducing conflict is to really start to understand and make it clear, to be as clear as possible with people with my communication. For example, the guard who has to let me out of my place because of security reasons, every time I walk by the kitchen, he says, "Vas a salir?"
Out of the kitchen?
Yeah, because he thinks because I'm walking downstairs, I might be exiting, and he's just being courteous so that he can open up the gate.
Gotcha.
So instead of that running on for the remainder of my stay, I said, hey, why don't we do this? If I'm going to exit, I'm going to let you know that I'm exiting so that it saves you all the time by asking me to exit.
Okay.
And I think it wasn't clicking with him, but I tried to say what I mean, but not say it mean.
Yeah.
Because Colombians can take things very personally because they're very sensitive people and they want like some courteous response. So I did notice the fluctuation of my tone level. I was cautious of it. I wasn't people pleasing, but there was a balance. Normally, if I say that in California, I would be like, hey, if I'm going to exit, I'll let you know.
Yeah. And that's cool for me.
And then, people will be like, oh, cool. Yeah. That sounds good.
Yeah.
Right. But in this case, I'm learning that in Colombia, I'm dealing with other people, which this is called flex coaching in the business world.
Okay.
If like I'm working with you at T-Mobile, and I see that you're more of like the sensitive type, I'm not going to coach you in the same way that I would be with the people that just want to be like, right.
Yeah.
I would flex my coaching style. And that's what I'm noticing I have to do in Colombia. I have to flex the way I speak to people.
Yeah, okay, I understand.
Because people, they're going to be like, this guy's rude for just stating what his preferences are. So instead of like being direct, I said, and the reason why is because I want you to not feel like you're always asking, even though I appreciate it. This way I'll let you know when I'm going to exit. And then this way you can relax and just know. He said, oh,
yeah.
Okay.
That's great. The explanation is really important.
And I did the same thing because yesterday, the woman that runs the reception, she said, hey, do you have like a cell phone in Colombia? or like a cell phone number. And my initial thought was I was in a rush to exit. And the whole day I was thinking, why was she asking me that I have a cell phone number? Like, things need to make sense for me. And I've told my mom this many times, like, if you're going to ask me something, can you do a follow-up so I can be more clear as to like what your objectives are?
Yeah.
Like, I hate when people say like, are you free? Are you working tomorrow?
Oh yeah.
And then they're leading up to like asking for a favor.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, okay, first, why?
Yeah.
Like, I'd like to know the reasoning behind your question.
True.
Because what I would prefer is something like, hey, like tomorrow I'm going to be running a little late. Can you just make sure to like let the dog out? And hey, are you busy?
Yeah, it's
Because
more
that
clear.
would be more clear to me.
Yeah.
And so today I got back to the house and I said, hey, you know, like I just want to ask, like, what was the reason why you were asking for if I have the number in Colombia, so I could be like more clear. This way I can kind of understand. She said, oh no, sometimes like if you're at the gate and I have to let you in and nobody's there, like you can text us if we're like upstairs. And I'm like, oh, thank you for that, because it's more clear to me now. And I told her that. I was like, I tell that to my mom too, so she didn't take it personally. And she's like, oh, okay, yeah, that's a good point. Because she just immediately said, hey, do you have a number in Colombia? Okay, have a good day. And the whole day I was like, why did she ask?
Yeah.
So yes, man, this has been a really nice conversation.
No, yeah, same. It was great talking to you, Robbie.
Yeah,
It's,
and I hope
quite profound.
I hope my mom
perspective.
and the other person that watches this video will learn from it. So you brought an instrument, right?
I did. I'm just gonna.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I just?
Yeah. So Vernon brought his saxophone. So the last part of the segment, I want you guys to listen to his music. And I think what's been great about this conversation that I've had with Vernon is that assertiveness and stating your preferences is possible. Does it happen overnight? Absolutely not. But we can say things, we can mean what we say without saying it mean. And that's something that we can practice over time. It's not something that needs to be done overnight. And it's always important for us to recognize our human parts, to recognize that we can cut ourselves a break when we do make a mistake, or when we don't know something, or that when we are still learning. I was talking about the book that I was reading, When I Say No, I Feel Guilty. And one of my favorite techniques in the book is called the fogging technique. The fogging technique is taking constructive feedback and simply agreeing to it, or agreeing something similar to it. So for example, if somebody says, Robbie, you know, I don't like this about you, I say, you know, that could be true. Some people might think that, and that I do that, and something's right sometimes too. So not always to completely self-sabotage and to agree to people's criticism, but to ask them for more feedback. And I think by asking for more feedback, it allows us to not take it personally, to really look at that feedback as if somebody else were receiving the feedback, and how would we feel about that? Not really taking it personally because it's not us. So I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. I hope you guys subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and thank you so much for watching. I'm grateful that you were able to sit in on this conversation, and I'm going to pass it on to Vernon playing the saxophone.
Thank you.
I love the last part.
Yeah? Oh, thank you.
That was great.
Oh, I appreciate it. Yeah.
Are you out of breath or?
Kind of. Kind of, yeah.